Hello, this is Coach Tim Campsall, and I'm excited to have Brad on the show today. Brad's going to share how, in the past, not embracing technology improvements affected business growth and could no longer be ignored. He also is going to share about how completing his personnel goals is the one thing that must be solved in the next year to help get him out of some of the day-to-day so he can work more on the business. If you're a business owner feeling stuck between working harder and growing smarter, this podcast is for you. Brad owns Shields Windshields.
Yes.
They produce polycarbonate heavy equipment replacement windows. And something unique about Brad is that he's an introvert who needs his alone time to recharge. And that's something that people wouldn't know about him. And we'll see that today because he's super outgoing. Welcome to the show, Brad.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Well, hey, I'm excited to hear your story. Most owners start their business for freedom and flexibility, but they often lose it along the way. So, what problem were you trying to escape from when you started your business?
Well, escape from a problem may not be the what I was after. I came into a family business,
Hmm,
and we were mainly a job shop
okay.
and doing orders that way. And I realized that we could take our polycarbonate, our shields. I started our shields line, and we could take that retail. We could take it to the masses. We could
Hmm,
make it in a different way.
yeah.
So it was a big change of how we were doing things. And so, that was, I was trying to basically escape from being caught up in the world of widgets and fighting over, 2 and 3 cents a part
Yeah.
in the plastics world. And that's well known. If anybody knows the plastics world, you want to look at a part and you want to do, 3 million parts at 2 cent margin.
Right.
No, I want to sell a very expensive, high performance window to a very appreciative and needful
Mm,
market.
yeah. I
And,
love
and so that was the biggest hurdle was that initially, and then also the dynamics of family business.
it.
Convincing my dad we can do it this way.
Yeah.
It can be successful. And at the same time, though, we were still running the other part of the business, which,
Sure.
kept us afloat for a long time as we started to build what
Yeah.
we now have.
Yeah. So, Brad, taking over a family business requires a bit of a leap of faith.
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence that I can do this, even though maybe you didn't have it all figured out?
Well, I certainly didn't have it all figured out. The confidence came from being with plastics my whole life,
Mm,
being my dad's shadow, from the time I could walk.
yeah.
And I was a high school teacher and a head football coach for 10 years, and that gave me a great insight of people
Hmm.
and how to manage people and so forth. So I wasn't too concerned about that. But what happened was I realized we had a phenomenal, unique product.
Mm.
And at the time, a lot of race cars were still using glass. All heavy equipment was using glass, except for very, very limited places.
Oh, wow.
Um, Disney was still using glass. And so I went after the glass market and to replace with my windows as a performance window.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, the product itself allowed me to jump into it. Um, and I've never been afraid to jump in with both feet. The business side of it became the huge challenge, and of course, improving the product and so forth.
Sure.
And we started with decent equipment. We did everything by hand at the
Uh-huh.
time. We had no CNC machines. We had no automation. We had
Wow.
no lasers.
Yeah.
Um, so it was both fun, exciting, and exhausting.
We know that successful businesses can hit plateaus at different stages of their growth. In the intro, I mentioned that not embracing technology improvements it was a challenge that was affecting your growth in the past. So, Brad, give us a little context here. What was happening? What did you try at first that didn't work, and what eventually, allowed you to get through that challenge?
Well, again, back to the family business. I was our general manager, so I had to run the plant. And then also our shields.
Yeah.
And literally with, a couple other guys, I was doing everything. The marketing, the sales, I was putting the sales orders in, I
Yeah.
was recording them, I was doing the invoicing, the package slips,
Yeah.
I was forming. We were only coating face shields at the time in-house. So I was driving the windows to Cincinnati once a week, twice.
Oh,
When I
wow.
started going 3 and 4 times a week, we decided, maybe we can try coating these in-house. That's how it started. But doing all that, and the technology I had was a fax machine, and if you think in 1999 and 2000, we had email, but email wasn't, it wasn't what it is today, of course,
Yeah.
and phone calls. I made phone calls, and I got the head of Bobcat Engineer on a cold call. I went door to door NASCAR and got the crew chief, everywhere. My wife was holding my daughter, my son was holding my flyers, and I always tell the story. Uh, he dropped as many flyers in North Carolina as he carried. Turned out being pretty good. Guys would pick it up and then they'd call me. That was back in the day. But as far as technology went, I made our first website off of publisher software. And
Okay.
I was at a conference one time and they said, "Is your website nothing more than a business card online?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what else can it be?" And so as we started to grow, and unfortunately, this fax machine went away. People don't realize this. Maybe Tim, you remember, we used to try to, I remember my dad getting so upset with all the spam faxes we would get. Your fax machine and just tossing your paper would run. And I'm like, dude, that's how I'm doing most of my marketing. I'm either calling or faxing guys. And to where we are today, and we were hand routing, we were hand drilling,
Mm,
everything. And then to get the CNC machines, Dad and I just literally took a jump off a cliff for our first three axes. And I had to spend a week and a half with them to learn how to program.
yeah.
We talked about it before I started the business, and I had a guy who taught shop where I used to teach, and Fred Vollmer took the time during my prep period, and coaches get babied, so half of my day was a prep period and so I spent half the day learning AutoCAD from him with my high school students right next to me. And so from learning to program and then to five axis and so forth. So all that was the big challenge was it wasn't so much embracing technology because we knew we would love it.
Yeah.
Terrified to pay for it. How can you ever pay for a $300,000
Right.
machine?
Yeah.
And then learn how to do it, maintenance, all of that. And we did it how we always did it. We just ran out of the gate,
Yeah.
and we've learned to do it much better.
So, Brad, when you were in the middle of that and spending all of that manual time, what was that costing you personally?
Um, you know, I the personal cost probably wasn't much. That story of hey, I was never home and all that. Well, and I wasn't home a lot. The funny thing was, I was still an assistant football coach.
Mm,
I was coaching my daughter and her friends in what we call I train them all to be DBs,
okay.
boys, girls, it didn't matter. You want to be athletic. So I was still doing that. But as a family business, we're a close family. My wife was always around. My kids were always
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate in that sense. Now, when I traveled, and once we started doing OEM work, I had to travel, and if, first time I went overseas, oh, I got a funny one. First time I'd ever flown overseas, and I was meeting John Deere guys in Copenhagen in Denmark. And I'd flown before, but just, up to Daytona or whatever, with mom and dad to the shows. And so I land in Copenhagen. I'm going to meet him there at the airport. I'm
Yeah.
lost. So I go to the counter and I ask the lady my question, and she looked at me in broken English. She's like, "Sir, you're in the wrong airport." Like,
Oops.
I didn't pull a button and it landed. I just got off where it landed. Another lady, she said, "No, no, no, terminal. You have to go to the other terminal."
Oh, okay.
And I tell you what, my heart froze. It was 2001, just right after 9/11, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I went to the wrong airport. How did
Right.
I get?"
Oops.
So it was so the travel. And when we started doing Disney and I started doing the monorails, um, I started going down about every 3, 4 weeks and
Okay.
worked the night shift to put them in.
Mm,
But Northwest had a flight. I could leave at about 7 at night. I'd work the third shift in the Disney motor pool,
Okay.
and then I get back on the plane about 8 in the morning.
Oh,
And just the opposite, Northwest went to Raleigh, North Carolina with Caterpillar. I'd leave at 7 in the morning. I'd be back about 9 o'clock at night.
yeah,
And so I was adamant to do that. You know, if I had to spend 2 nights away, I had to spend those nights. Otherwise, I'd be home. But it caught, it certainly slowed the growth because
sure,
all those hats, but we
sure.
didn't really have anybody. And as far as hiring other people, I promoted from within, which was good and not so good.
Mm,
The good was the native,
yeah,
the native culture that they all knew.
yeah,
But I needed some business people. I needed some help.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brad, what assumption about running a business uh, that you had turned out to be wrong and ended up costing time and money?
Okay. This ended up being wrong and not wrong, and it's kind of two-faced, not two-faced. It's a dual thought here.
Yeah.
Just having the best product in the world is not enough.
Mm,
And then now I'm spending time with my team, which is a very accomplished, focused, talented, um, passionate team. I'm talking about we have the best product in the world, and that's what makes each step go forward.
yeah.
So it's kind of it's kind of a circle in that sense. But if every problem was solved with the fact that my window was better, and it's funny, it led to a lot of encounters as I was trying to sell and market and
Mm.
and promote my window. My aggression got a little ahead of me um, because damn it, I've got the best product in the world.
Yes, yes,
And if you
yes.
weren't listening to me, I made sure you listened to me until you started buying it. And
Yeah.
then you're like, you do have it, but you didn't have to grab my arm. And, you know,
Well,
so,
I like what you're saying there because the phrase "if you build it, they will come," right, isn't true.
mhm,
But having the quality is critically important to success,
yes,
but it's not enough just to have it. It's you have to communicate it and people have to understand, right?
absolutely. And you have to repeat it and you have to prove it. You have to have statistical reference behind it. You have to have budgets and you have to have, outlays of what you're going to do and where you're going to grow. And you have to have strategy for all that stuff. Well, when you're just making a great product and you're putting it out there, that's all my focus was. I mean, I wanted sales, right? Of course, you want sales, but all I got to do is get in front of people. I say it today, my ISRs, um, I should call them inside teachers. It's about education, and once we get a person educated,
Yeah.
the sales relatively straightforward.
Sure.
But it's, I love that if you build it, they will come because that is not true.
Yeah.
If you build it, you've built it,
Yeah.
and now you got to fill those seats.
Yeah.
And you got to fill those seats with a product, with something people are going to want. They're going to want to come back for it. They're willing to pay for it.
Right.
One of my biggest thing is the value.
Mm,
In the heavy equipment world, guys don't complain about my price ever.
right.
They make money every time they're behind my window. Now, my race car guys, no matter how much you win, you're losing money.
Yeah, right.
The old race car saying is, if you want to end the year with $1 million in racing, you better start with two. So it's, where my heavy equipment guys, or my Disney people, they're entertained, they're safe and all that. So, but yeah, it's the product is critical, no question. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I realized, I'm not quite really a businessman.
Mm.
And that kind of hurt because, we were selling a lot of windows,
For
but
sure.
because it's
Yeah.
a great product. I mean, a monkey could probably sell it. So I could quit patting myself on the back.
Brad, in my book, I share how much success comes down to mindset and how our limiting beliefs can get in the way. So, what's been the hardest mindset shift that you personally had to work through?
It, really, it's I guess, boy, it's not even an easy question to answer. It's letting go without letting go.
Mm,
Um, it's allowing other people when you're, and I try to say this all the time. Sorry, I put my name on every window, literally it says Shields. And there's a passion to that, and there's commitment to that, and there's a, I still want to package every one. I still want to write my initials on every window.
Right.
We did almost 25,000 windows last year, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I can't put my name on it. My name's on everyone. I can't put my initials. Uh, and I think that's the hardest. The hardest thing is to, not that I never trusted my people, and especially as they've grown and
Yeah.
they've learned, right? So my job was to find them. And part of it was easy with my daughter and the rows she's plowing now from a business perspective, from a focus perspective, is amazing.
Yeah.
And then with the team and our pillars, and boy, I found them. All the pillars include my daughter, my wife, my
Right.
son-in-law, my head of engineering, and then I've got my head of marketing and head of operations. They have embraced from
Mm,
finance, engineering, marketing, operations, what we're doing.
yeah.
And they've been with me long enough. They know the product and that their passion and their talents are coming through. And so I trust them.
Yeah.
And now they give me reports, and that's great. And I read reports and see it. I'm still very active in the sales and the marketing side.
Sure.
Uh, I like to be active in engineering and operations. Um, but yeah, they can do it faster than I can. I still got the hands to
Yeah.
touch everything and to feel it. But it's really when I say letting go, it just trusting.
Yeah.
And I don't like using that because it's never I didn't trust people.
Yeah.
It's just can they carry it with that much passion,
Yeah.
and they can, and they do.
Well, and it's hard to let go of the baby, right? That you created and you raised and right?
Yeah,
It's that back and forth of yes, I know I have great people that I can trust, and right, it's still my baby, right? And I still want to be involved. And so figuring out what's the
yeah,
right role, right, as the the owner and CEO or president, right? It's just an ongoing evolution of what's my role, how do I fit in, and what's the proper amount of empowering the team and letting them do what they've been hired to do, right?
yeah. And it is, the finding that role that I don't like micromanaging. I still go back. My dad used to when I started with my dad, and he didn't want meetings and all this stuff. And I said, well, I only know how to coach.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to run it as a coach. And we had disagreements about that. And this is a
Sure.
business. Towards the end, when he was stepping away, he would brag about, well, he just runs it like a football team. Not exactly true, but I've got coordinators,
Yeah,
I've got position
absolutely.
coaches, I've got seniors, I've got
Sure.
captains, and I've got support staff and administration and all that. And you have to deal with that. And if the guys at the bus garage don't love you, you're not going to travel in first class. And the only way they're going to love you is how you treat them.
Right.
And if you treat them properly and the bus comes back spotless, and who cleans the bus up? Not the freshmen, the seniors. Because if you use the freshmen, the seniors will make a mess. You make the seniors clean the bus and locker room, it's a spotless locker room. And if you make your coordinators, hey, you're responsible for your bus. So if I walk on that defensive bus and it's ugly, I'm gonna, you're the first one. I think that's a great way to do it. But it's just learning how to do that. And I didn't stay head coach long enough, but I obviously still love the game, and I do so many sports analogies drives my team crazy. But some of the best games ever. Of course, I had talent. We the basketball coach is unheard of in Indiana. Basketball coach and I were great friends, and we shared his starting 10 were my best 10 players. Well, skill guys, and it was best when I just had the headphones on. I let my coordinators call their play, and I kind of felt the weather,
Yeah.
and you know got in the flow, and now I could see something without. I could see the whole forest because they
Sure.
got to see every tree,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
really, that's kind of what I'm trying to do now at work.
Yeah.
The only thing is the way we're doing marketing and strategizing with our sales, I'm a big part of that.
Hmm.
They've got a cartoon character of me, which is kind of comical. They've got me doing podcasts. They've got me doing, I'm doing a fun thing called Feedback Fridays that, we don't have a big following yet, but
Yeah.
I just take the feedback that our ISRs get from customers, be it on the phone or through
Yeah.
social media, and I just draw them out and respond.
I love it.
Some are negative or some are questions or some,
Sure. Yeah.
I've got a unique response. And I'm not overly defensive, but I am real, hey, if you drill my window, you screwed up. So,
Yeah.
um,
So Brad,
you know,
let's dig in a little bit more. You've been talking about your team. So when I introduced you, I shared that completing your personnel goals is the one thing that has to be solved in the next year, so that right it doesn't cost the business and doesn't
yeah.
pull you into the day to day. So elaborate on that a little bit. Why is that so important to work through?
Well, again, follow my daughter's lead with setting up the areas that she wants to see set up and report. My dad, if he knew how many middle management people non-production staff we had, he would just be, everybody that worked for my dad knew how to do everything.
Mm,
And that's a great thing. We're so much bigger now.
yeah.
We have to have specialized.
Yes.
And with that comes, well, we used to have team leads, names change. Now we have managers. So I've got, my vice president of operations, my daughter, vice president of finance, my wife. And then I've got my heads of engineering, marketing, and operations. And then each of them have a team now. I've got a team of engineers.
Right.
I've got marketing associates. We've got different, we call them pods, supervisors.
Yeah.
And those are getting filled. And we've got some extremely talented. My gosh, my daughter has found some unbelievably wonderful, great folks. And we still have a couple holes there. And
Sure.
to help the whole team move, and I've seen the efficiency, I've seen the numbers, and that's what I'm being showed now is numbers, which is
Yeah.
kind of funny because I still and they're not going to break me this habit until they take me feet first. Every sales order we get, I enter into my own spreadsheet, and I can go to our accounting software and check it all out, but I still love typing in
Yeah.
every part, every customer. Boy, it gives me a knowledge, and it takes, yeah, if you have to take me 45 minutes to an hour a day sometimes.
Right.
And, but especially like yesterday's my birthday, took the day off. So I've got a stack, but that keeps me just engaged.
Yeah.
But the staff then taking that, so, and with that, the personnel part is the technology of we're putting our CRM,
Mm,
is really going to grow. But we've got our ERP system. We're going to be 100% paperless. Every work order, every pod is
sure.
going to be, and that's fantastic. And that's always been a dream. Putting it in reality, boy, my daughter and son-in-law and the team have worked so hard on this. But it is amazing. And I always tell them, I said, we got to make this so when we open up the branch in Charlotte or Utah,
Right.
wherever,
Yes.
you know, that they just click on the same system.
Yeah.
And with that mindset, boy, it's an amazing thing. And that's this year, we're going to get that completely up and running. We'll have some, lurking Murphys out there that we're going to have to,
Sure.
to take care of.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what they'll do and oversee. But that's a few more critical people
Okay.
to help this team
Yeah.
manage.
Yeah.
And we're finding them. It takes a minute.
Yeah.
And
You
that takes
talked about,
training.
yes, it sure does. And you mentioned, your dad would be a little frustrated about managers, but here's the thing that most businesses don't understand, and I appreciate that you shared it, is managers are critical to success because left to our own,
Mhm.
we won't be as efficient and as effective as we could be if we're being managed and held accountable, right? And you
Yep.
you mentioned the reports and looking at the numbers, right? Numbers don't lie, right? And good managers manage their teams to the numbers and
Yep.
right and make sure that things are getting done. And it's a lost art.
Hmm.
Back in the 80s and 90s, there was this shift away from middle managers, and companies have suffered tremendously
Yeah.
because people aren't being managed. And so I appreciate what you're saying, and it's hard, it's a lot of work, it costs more money, but you eventually you get the return on investment from those
Yeah.
managers in place, right?
No question. And you can see that in efficiencies. Um, you can see that in your quality, um, your repeatability, and so forth. We when we had 15, 18, got up to 22 employees, it was easy for me to walk the floor and see everybody or have one other person, a floor
Yeah.
boss,
Yeah.
go around and yell at the boys to, get their ass going. Well, when we crossed that 50 employee threshold, things started to change.
Uh,
And I've got a huge gripe about 51 employees does not, we're still a small company for crying out loud.
yeah.
But you've got all these federal things you have to meet.
Yes.
And as we approach 70 plus employees, you need between 50 and 65 employees is real rough because the revenue to cover what you've got to do,
Mm,
again,
yeah.
to tell me that regulations are there to help small business. We could talk about that forever.
That's a different podcast.
Oh, yes, it is. But you've got to keep growing to support that.
Yes.
It is a catch 22. You've got to be big enough to have that middle management staff
Yeah.
that can do their job and report back and give the flexibility that they can do it right. But you can't do that until you're big enough, and you can't get big enough until you have that there. So
Yes.
there,
Yes.
a couple of years ago, there was a couple hold your breath moments. We were going to be fine, but it was out. The scale was a little off,
Yeah. Fair enough.
and starting to really see some differences now.
That's awesome. Brad, we know that self-made is a myth. You've mentioned a few people, so maybe this is already covered, but who are the three people that you wouldn't be here without, and how did they help you along the way?
The three people. The first person is two people, my mom and dad.
Mhm.
This dad started the business in our garage. Mom started running the business in the basement on a desk, which used to be my play area as a kid, but I was still out with my dad anyway, in the garage. And then what they built with the motorcycle fairing business, and what they're able to achieve. So obviously that first person's them. Second person is my family, my wife, my son and daughter. Their commitment and investment. And like I said, we were fortunate to be together. Like we're fortunate, our grandchildren from birth to preschool spend time, their days in my wife's in my office, then they go to daycare, so we're fortunate there, but without their support and their efforts and talents, no way. But then one individual, I'll call out by name is Joe Gannon. And I hope he listens to this. He'll be actually a little embarrassed now. He's our longest tenured employee.
Mm,
He came in with dad about a year after the business started. He's technically my cousin, my dad's nephew. Um, He is the most talented man I've ever
uh,
seen with polycarbonate in his hands, and also his attitude. I'm a glass half full. Don't tell me no, just motivates me more kind of guy. Tell me I can't do it, I'll do it twice. And I would come up with some harebrained thoughts at first on how we're going to do some things with the polycarbonate that break the rules
yeah.
of forming and coating and trimming. And he was right there with me.
Oh,
And
wow.
every harebrained idea I'd have, he'd go right, and we would try this. And we never got daunted with failure.
Mm.
And to this day, if I got a little bit of a harebrained thought, I'll kind of bounce it off him. He always says, "Yeah, we can do it." And but as I was coming through, my dad taught me to follow him and mimic and mirror him.
Mm,
My dad was just a genius, an absolute genius. But he didn't always take the time to teach me. He, he, he
right.
let me wreck on my bike a lot, which I so much appreciated. I think that's a great way to do it. But as we were trying to finesse and fine tune some things, Joe was always right there.
Mm,
And to this day, he still is. He's just a great confidant in that sense. So,
awesome.
um,
Yeah.
Yeah, when Dad gave us a corner of the coding room, said, "All right, you two coat." We kind of looked at each other and said, "All right, here we go. This is what we're gonna do." And
That's awesome.
yeah, so that would
Brad,
be him.
when you felt stuck or overwhelmed, what belief about having to figure it out on your own kept you stuck? And what changed once you brought others into that and got an outside perspective?
The stubbornness of, I can figure it out. I can just figure it out. And you can figure out stuff to be good enough for to get by. But one of the things is, the biggest enemy of greatness is goodness.
Mm,
And so to get past that next level, somebody else has to talk to you, or somebody's got to give you, another idea.
yeah.
And it's funny because again, I have all these kind of catch 22s, I guess, or yes and no's, because I still believe it's all about that great product. And the only way that great product is known is through sales.
Mm.
And everything's about sales. Well, but if everything's about sales, you're not running a business. But if you don't have sales, you don't have a business to
Yeah,
run.
right.
And so having people get in my ear and in my head, and again, my daughter's as stubborn as I am. And so you've got to kind of be there to pound it in my head that we can get there with some other avenues. And you you know to spend money on things we spend money on, I like no way. I'm like I keep looking like, oh, I can't go to my dad's gravesite. I'll get pulled right in and yell at me because we don't spend money on that. Well, we now have a thing called ROI. And I'm like, oh my gosh,
Right,
it
right.
makes sense. It works. And so, you hear about it, you read the books. I'm an avid reader. I love reading,
Yeah.
but I still like my sleeves rolled up, and I love to be active day to day.
Mhm.
But I've had to change that. But just, again, trusting people that they carry my name, maybe even with more respect than I do.
Mm,
And been that's been tough not tough in a bad way. It's been like, whoa, they're phenomenal people.
that's awesome. Yeah. So looking back, Brad, what's been your biggest learning overall that you believe leads to long-term success?
Um, Stubbornness
Yeah.
in a positive way. Um, the goal has always the goal for me has never been to be um, a yacht owning billionaire, or that. My goal has been to provide the greatest. If people remember me, one thing he said, he made it the greatest polycarbonate windows ever. Um, that's what I want to be known as, and the product there, and keeping my guys safe. They go home safe. They come back to work. They stay on time.
Yeah.
That's what I want. And along the way, I want my people to be successful. I love the fact it was a few years back. I started seeing my guys are buying trucks. And I told them, don't you buy a truck on overtime because the overtime will go away tomorrow. But to see things like that and to see
Yeah.
what we've done in our town,
Yeah.
mom and dad have instilled in me a philanthropic mentality.
Yeah.
And,
I love it.
my daughter counted it up. We're active in 26 charities, very active
Wow.
financially, personnel, people.
Yeah.
And I believe in that. So those are the kind of goal. But so the stubbornness is to not give up on those.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we're making a lot more product. We're selling a lot more product. We got a lot more employees, but we're still going to give your birthday off.
Yeah.
We're still going to go build a habitat house. We're going to take work time and go do
Yeah.
that. We're still going to do the things
I
we
love
expect
that.
to do, and not let that change who we are. Because my mom and dad worked too hard to make, to give this reputation that, and I love our community.
Yeah.
So I could go on.
Very
I'll
cool.
tell you one quick story if I can. In 2008, we had the flood,
Yeah.
and I had 60 inches of water through my building.
Oh.
That was a Saturday. I remember because my son was supposed to start driver's ed that day. And we were Caterpillar OEM. That was our lifeblood at the time.
Mm.
And I'm too small of a company to declare force majeure, which when the big guys do it, I had to look it up. I didn't know what the hell that meant. And I thought, oh, that sucks. They're big enough to say we can't help it. If I
Yeah.
say we can't help it, I get fined. And if we were going to miss a cat shipment, I was going to be fined. We were going to be financially hurt.
Mm,
Through my family, my friends, my employees and their families, my coaches and my players and their families, we made a shipment by Wednesday of that week.
wow.
They started cleaning on Sunday. I had
Wow.
so many people, I just made sure they had food and water.
Yeah.
And that's what this community did. We did not miss a Caterpillar number.
Wow. So it's a great
And
story.
it just, people say, boy, if you moved to just by the airport, bigger building and, no, I'll never leave this.
Brad, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people in your journey. If they were all here
Absolutely.
today, what would you want to say to them?
Thank you. But whew, um, thank you. Giving me the platform to jump off of and just run like hell. And then the support, when I fell down,
Mm.
hey, you can do this, you can do this, and we'll help you do this. And they have. And that day cleaning up at the plant, my wife and I started just shoveling. My mom and dad started shoveling, of course, my kids, and then people just showed up.
Yeah,
And that's kind of been my whole life. People just show up,
I love it.
and it's riding on shoulders of great people.
Brad, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thanks for being on the show.
I've enjoyed it, Tim. Thank you.
For those listening, if you found yourself nodding along and thinking, hey, this sounds familiar, remember, you don't have to figure it out on your own. We offer a 2-week coaching trial to get you clarity and help navigate the next steps. And you can find the link in the description. And if this episode made you realize that you're carrying more than you should, you'll want to catch our next one. Like it, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for listening and see you all next time.
Thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show. Please help spread this movement by liking and subscribing to our show and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Please pay it forward and be sure to tune in next time to the Self-Made is a Myth podcast.